So welcome everyone. My name is Kanika Parwal and I will be hosting the webinar for you today. Welcome to the webinar on the LSEF-UMass Scholarship. So this scholarship is a collaboration between the Lakshmipat Education Foundation and the University of Massachusetts Amherst for select master's programs, which are MS in Data Analytics and Computational Social Science, MS in Resource Economics, and Master of Public Policy. So these programs will be explained in depth by a distinguished panel of faculty members. So we have Professor Rela Raja. He is the Director of Program Innovation and a Professor of Political Science at UMass Amherst. Hi Ray, if you could just raise your hand.
Hi.
Then we have Professor Meredith Rolfe. Is that Meredith?
She should be getting on. Is she on yet?
Okay,
yeah, there she is.
Yeah, she is. So we have Professor Meredith Rolfe. She is the director of the Data Analytics and Computational Social Science course. And she is also an associate professor at UMass Amherst. We also have Professor Alasdair Roberts. He is the director of School of Public Policy and a professor of political science at UMass Amherst. I'm so sorry, excuse me. And lastly, we have Professor John. He is the chair and of the Department of Resource Economics, and he will be talking.
Let me introduce one more person. We have Donna Utakis, who is the program manager for the Data Analytics and Computational Social Science program.
Okay, great. So we'll start with Ray. He will give you a brief idea about the beautiful University of Massachusetts Amherst and why it's a great place to study. Then our panelists will talk about each of the courses in depth, followed by, how does the scholarship work and how can you apply. So in this entire process, if any of the attendees have a question, please use the Q&A feature to send them in. So the panelists can also type in the answers through the course of the webinar, or we can just take all of them at the end. Great. So over to you, Ray. Why don't you start?
Okay. Thank you, Kanika. Welcome, everyone. Again, my name is Rela Raj. I'm Associate Dean here at the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences. So I want to tell you about our beautiful campus and the wonderful programs we have to offer. So we're at the University of Massachusetts. We are the main campus of the state of Massachusetts, which I don't know if you know, but Massachusetts in the United States is known as the premier area for higher education in the United States. We're the main public campus. We have about 28,000 students. We are in the western part of Massachusetts. We have every possible academic program here at the campus. You can imagine we're going to talk about 3 of them today. Just to give you a sense, because I know some of you might be coming here, we're 2 hours west of Boston, 3 hours north of New York City, in picturesque New England, which is a beautiful rural area, but has all the amenities of a cosmopolitan place. And many students often go to these other cities. And of course, these programs have the option for you to do some work after you graduate, because we have the STEM, but they're categorized as STEM, which means you have this ability to work for a few years. And New York, Boston, metro areas are really the hubs for this job generation in this global economy in the United States. So that's all available. I should also add we have a very strong alumni network that helps our students. The students who graduate from our programs do very well in the job market in the United States, and some of them, and we have international students as well. And then to live here, you'll be among a very diverse group of students, not just from the United States, but from all over. There's cultural organizations, there's clubs. Our campus is the #1 food campus in the United States. We have that. So you will eat well while you're here. So I'm going to leave it to the directors of these programs to tell you about, but and we'll take questions after. But I just want to welcome you all, and I'm glad about your interest. Is there anything else, Kanika, you would like me to talk about? And
No,
pass it on?
yes, let's pass it on.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I don't have the schedule in front of me. Kanika, could you?
So we could start with Al, maybe, if he wants to start about the Master of Public Policy course.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yep. Good. So I'm Al Roberts. I'm the director of the School of Public Policy here at UMass Amherst. And we're very excited about this partnership that we have got going with JKLU. And the School of Public Policy is a unit within the campus. Its focus is preparing individuals for service in government, in the nonprofit sector, and civil society organizations, and so on. We have presently a faculty of 10 individuals who are joint appointments. That means they have a home in School of Public Policy and a home in departments across the campus. So it is a very interdisciplinary operation. And we are also in a very exciting period of growth. We have just hired 2 new faculty members. In fact, we just did that 2 days ago. And over the next 3 years, we will be adding 7 more faculty within the school. So this is a very exciting time for us. As I said, our aim is to prepare you for a successful career in either in government or in non-governmental organizations. And that could be government at any level, central, state, or local or municipal. We provide you with skills in policy analysis, in public management, professional skills like communications, teamwork, and so on. And we also have 3 substantive areas of focus. One is technology and governance. One of my colleagues is Professor Jane Fountain, who is one of the world's leading experts in technology and governance. We also have an interest in environmental policy and sustainable governance, which connects to one of the great strengths of this campus. And we also have a long-standing interest in social policy and social justice. And the program is designed so that you acquire the professional knowledge you need, the professional skills you need, but you also do it in a timely way. So under the arrangement that we have worked out with JKLU, once you arrive at UMass Amherst, it will be possible to complete the professional component of your education within 1 academic year. And I'd be pleased to answer any questions you might have.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, so, you know, if any of the attendees have any questions, you can send them in. There's a Q&A feature or in the chat, and then we will, you know, we can start answering them together maybe a little at the end, because I think there aren't any questions that have been sent in. Great. So if we can move on, and maybe John, if you could talk about the resource economics program.
Great, thank you. I'm John Spraggin. I'm the chair of the Resource Economics Department. We're quickly becoming a mid-sized department here on campus. We have about 20 faculty. Many of them are junior assistant professors, and so our department's doing a lot of research right now. We have moved primarily to a PhD program for a graduate program, and we have about 25 PhD students. They are very international, and some of them are from India and other Southeast Asian countries. Fundamentally, the master's program that you are interested in is a 1-year program where we focus on microeconomic fundamentals and econometric methods. And this prepares our students for both government and industry consulting type positions. And our master's students traditionally do quite well. And you can look at our website for a list of places where they've got jobs. And so this is also a 1-year program. You come in, there is an initial math training course at the end of the summer, and then you will do 4 courses in each term, and there'd be a project you would complete in the following summer, and you would have a master's degree in resource economics. The fundamental difference between us and a more standard economics program is that we do not have a macro requirement to our program. We're micro focused. Yeah, that is our program. And please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
So one of the questions that's come up is like, is any prior work ex mandatory? So it's obviously not mandatory, but I mean, if you'd want to throw any light on that.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Work experience?
Is any prior work experience sort of, is it desirable in application to the program?
Not for our program, no. Our requirements are training in mathematics, microeconomics, and statistics.
Okay.
And for the School of Public Policy, relevant prior work experience would be helpful, but it's not necessary for application.
Great. So should we move on to Meredith? She could talk a little bit about the data analytics and computational social science course.
Okay, great. Thanks, Kanika. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So data analytics is a new program. In fact, it is just going through the final stages right now of being approved in the Faculty Senate, but will hopefully launch or will launch in fall of 2020. And is built on the foundation of a course, an undergraduate sort of a letter that has already existed. So we have a lot of experience in teaching these courses and have been teaching them to doctoral students for many years. The focus of data analytics and computational social science is a core set of courses that introduce you to R, which is a data science language, and some basic statistics and econometrics. And then we grow out into being able to take additional technical courses in topics like text analysis, survey research, machine learning, experimental design. I believe also some web-based journalism and some other related technical courses. And you also get several substantive courses. So you can take additional courses in social science. The layout of our program is very similar to the one that John Spragan described for resource economics, which is that we have a first summer intensive where you get introduced to a refresher in statistics and I get an introduction to R. You then take 8 courses during the term, and then we have a final course on data communication and visualization at the end, second summer. So one big difference is that people might hear computational social science and think we're a computer science program, but we're definitely not a computer science program. There is a fantastic computer science program here on campus, but we do social science. And what that means is that while we have people using the same types of computational methods, including hopefully we'll soon have a machine learning course that we offer ourselves in our text analysis course, of course. We have a real emphasis on social science problems and a social science way of thinking about data, as well as communication and visualization. And also making sure that you have some background theory to understand and interpret data, and courses like surveys and experiments that allow you to collect your own data. So you get a more rounded approach to data analytics than you would in a computer science program. So that's something to sort of keep in mind and big this. Now we do have some ongoing partnerships with the computer science school, and in particular with regards to careers and internship opportunities, we are aligned with them and we'll be having joint events. The focus on our program is really creating and analyzing, sort of doing original research. In that sense, we're a very good preparation for a PhD program, but also a really good preparation to go out into the job market. Now, as a new program, we don't have any alumni yet. I saw that was a question also for the MPP, but what we do have is we've had our undergraduate alumni who have placed extremely well. So we've had them go, our undergraduates have gone on to graduate school at Berkeley, Princeton, Harvard, Chicago, LSE, a bunch of really great schools. And we've also had a bunch of people go out and get big jobs at startups or research foundations. So really fantastic placement history for the small sample that we've had. And we hope to continue that. And again, we hope that we'll have access to many of the tech jobs in Boston. So Boston is a real tech corridor. It's the second highest, I guess, after the I think San Francisco area, the second highest demand for tech jobs in the United States. And there is the 3-year opt will be approved for this, the computational sciences degree. I don't know if there were other questions, things I was supposed to say. I think that's probably it for the broad overview.
Okay. So we've had some questions that have come in the meantime for certain courses. So maybe we could just, so one of them is, since the MPP is, so MPP is not, it says, since the MPP is a relatively new course being offered by UMass, could you throw some light on alumni placement? And what is the annual intake of the MPP course? So Al, firstly, could you sort of highlight that, MPP is actually on the history of the public policy program at UMass? And
yes, I should clarify that the School of Public Policy continues an operation that has been going here since the 1970s. So we have had professional degrees in public policy and public administration for for 40 years. The MPP is a variation of our graduate program that has been going now for 5 years. But I do want to emphasize we have in our school over 1,000 alumni of the graduate programs over the previous decades. Our intake at the moment into our graduate programs is about 40 students a year. That's 40. So we'll be growing that program over the next few years. At the moment, we have a total number of students presently in the school of about 80, and that will be growing to about 130 over the next 3 years. So the key thing you should know is that this is a program that has been around for a while. We have a lot of alumni. We have graduates of our program who are serving throughout different levels of government, who are actually members of the state legislature, for example. So there is a track record.
oh, great. So I hope that answers the question. All right. So number of seats. Okay. So we will. Are there any other questions related to the data analytics course or the resource economics courses specifically that the students want to ask?
Yeah, I see one. How about placement opportunities for data analytics, whether students can get any job offers in related jobs, in CSC related jobs? Yeah.
So again, the focus of the emphasis of the course is really the computational social science side. So we see people going into researcher and analyst type jobs. Obviously, again, there will be joint recruiting sessions with computer science. So the companies will be on campus. If you have skills from another background, then you're free to sort of tout those during that process. But we envision our student, I think I saw one of the questions, sort of what types of backgrounds do you expect students to have? We envision students for computational social science data analytics to not necessarily come from a computer science background. So we are used to working with people who have at some point perhaps taken advanced mathematics and maybe had done a little programming, but are sort of getting back into that after having not taken some courses for a few years. Or in some cases, even people who've been a bit math phobic. We try to sort of provide a gentle introduction to both programming and math. Though we, of course, also welcome students with more advanced backgrounds, and the faculty are perfectly comfortable working with students who've had more demanding both programming and mathematics backgrounds.
So I want to say one thing about the data analytics program related to computer science. We're not teaching you how to do coding the way they would. I mean, there is some coding, you're going to get the basics, but this program is primarily about learning about behavior, how people, when Google collects all this data, what do you do with it? They need somebody to be able to figure out what makes sense of that data. When a healthcare company wants to find out what are their, where do we best put our resources, we're training students to figure that. All of these programs do that in some way. So this is really about understanding the next phase of the computer world is understanding how to make sense of all this data for government, business, NGOs, and that's what we're training you to do, to kind of bridge those two worlds between the computational and then the world of how people actually act in their lives and businesses.
I see one question about the MA in politics with specialization in international relations. And the answer to that is not available right now. However, we're going to have a global politics specialization within DAX, just like we actually have also a resource economic specialization. And we have like a survey research specialization. These are all right now. They aren't yet on the website, but we're working with faculty, and I happen to be working just this past week with faculty working on a global politics. We have several international relations faculty involved in DAX, both teaching the methods courses, and they'll be teaching sort of a set of coherent substantive courses.
So we're again actually getting a lot of questions on the kind of background that there are quite a few questions that are asking on the background that you want for each of these courses. So if you could go one by one on what are you really looking for in the students coming into this program?
So with regard to the School of Public Policy, what we look at is academic qualifications, your previous academic record. We don't require a GRE, which is a common graduate admissions test here in the United States. We do not require that. So we're going to look at your academic record, your references. If you do have prior relevant work experience, that's helpful, but not necessary. And we're basically looking at whether you have an interest in public policy and public service.
And I think that that's very similar for the resource economics program. We're looking for people who have an interest in one of our areas, which I didn't mention, and I'll do some now. We have faculty doing research in industrial organization, which is fundamentally how markets work. They do a lot of public policy related work in terms of food. So how soda taxes affect obesity, things like that. We have a great environmental economics group who are doing all sorts of work in energy and water and markets for tradable emission permits, things like that. And we have a behavioral and experimental economics group that look at how people fundamentally make decisions and different preferences and how they make decisions under uncertainty. And we are opening up. We're looking to hire in health economics to put together a health economics group. And so we're looking for students who have interest in these areas and also have strong mathematical backgrounds. So we're looking for students who demonstrate strong interest in mathematics or statistics, the tools that they'll need to be successful in our areas.
Okay. Meredith, we have quite a few questions coming in for you.
Yeah, I can see the latest one appears to be the social science intertwined with data analytics. And then, so let me start with that. So I see another one after that. So social science intertwined with data analytics really takes two forms. One is that, again, there are going to be several substantive courses that you will take, ideally, again, within a specialization area. So these might be, say, on political behavior. they might be on industrial organization in one course and maybe a public management course from policy, right? So sort of a management and administration group. There's also an organizations class in sociology. I think we've got a potential demography. We definitely have a survey research track. So again, the idea is that you're learning some background, some theoretical background about how people behave in different contexts within social sciences. The other big thing that we offer is the social science emphasis on methods. So we teach social network analysis, which is not something you'll usually find in a computer science department, and survey research, and again, experiments and experimental design, both economics experiments and more standard, I guess, social psychology / political behavior experiments. So that's one of the big differences with us in a computer science group. In terms of, I think somebody asked, does it have the flavor of business? So as someone who's taught at a business school for 10 years of my career, what I can tell you is that business schools usually draw heavily on economics, sociology, and psychology, and to some extent politics, and you certainly could craft a degree that sort of gave you tasters of the underlying subject matter in a business degree, but this is not a business degree. So there is a business analytics program. It is not part of this LSEF group, but there is one on the UMass campus. But our degree certainly could help you prepare for a job in the business world, but it's not a case-based sort of standard business degree. I think there was one more question. Data visualization and product management. So the visualization element, we will certainly have a course on that, and we're actually trying to get additional courses on. So we've got web-based journalism, and we're going to try to have a web-based visualization course. Also, I think we actually just made an agreement to have that, including things like GI mapping. GIS is another method we offer. In web-based context and Shiny-based visualization. The product management side, we have courses that would certainly be applicable, and if that was an interest of yours and you were accepted to the program, what we would do is assign you to an advisor who would basically suggest what the underlying social science curriculum is they would suggest to prepare you for that sort of job. So those are jobs where you need to know some substantive content, and again, we'll have each student will be assigned a faculty advisor who will be available, and of course I as program director will always be available to make suggestions like, oh, if you're thinking of doing this, these are some things you might want to know about how people behave, and we would put you in touch with the correct people. So we have lots of say behavior courses that you might be interested in different departments. I think that does all the DAX ones, Kanika.
Yeah, there's one on the chat also, Meredith. I mean, you've sort of spoken about it in terms of placement opportunities and basic like minimum pay packages that student can expect.
So minimum pay, it's hard for me to comment completely on that. The sort of the estimates out there range anywhere from $80,000 a year to $120,000. Whenever you find these in different sources, I really have no idea what the actual answer is on that. Okay. There is a fantastic report that I could share with you if that's useful, Kanika, that you could share with people on jobs in this area, in particular this hybrid area where you have to have substantive knowledge plus stuff. It's called the Quant Crunch. It was put out in 2017 by Burning Glass, and I think they have salary estimates in that, so I'm happy to share that with you. As far as number of seats, I believe that we will be offering 5 of the scholarship seats again for the coming year. And at least this past year, that was a fairly competitive group. So be sure to get your applications in early.
Right. So yeah, so as Meredith mentioned, we have 5 for data analytics and computational social science, and similarly we'll have like 5 for each of the 3 courses. Now just sort of elaborate a little bit more on how does the scholarship work and what is the application process. So we offer up to rupees 20 lakhs a scholarship, which amounts to 50% of the total tuition fee for all the 3 courses. And so your tuition effectively comes down to around rupees 20 lakhs, which will be divided across 4 semesters in the 2 years. And how the scholarship has been curated is that there are 2 years of master's studies that you'll be undergoing, wherein you spend the first year at a host institution in India, which is the JK Lakshmipat University in Jaipur, JKLU. Here you have absolutely you have great faculty coming in, and you focus a lot on courses which are on analysis and research, which really help you build a very strong foundation and compete at UMass when you get there. So you move to UMass essentially in the second year, wherein you go into your respective specializations. You can always check out the curriculum for both the years on our website, which is www.lsc.foundation. In terms of the application process, again, on our website, you first go and fill up an interest form. And depending on that, we filter candidates, and the shortlisted candidates are then invited to fill up a full application form. So this form will include, as Al had also mentioned, we have a statement of purpose. You have to get letter of recommendations, and you have to submit your transcripts, which are given a lot of weightage. There were some questions around marks. So we look at least minimum 75%, but essentially we're looking at the absolute cream. And you also have to attach your CV and some other documents. Then there are essentially 2 rounds of interviews taken by the panel members. So the first round is with the faculty members from JKLU, and then your second round of interviews is with one of your program directors at UMass Amherst. And based on that, you will get your final decision. GRE and TOEFL IELTS scores are not mandatory for admission. So the entire admission will be based on the form that you submit and your interviews. Does anyone have any questions around that? And then apply later for the scholarship. Okay, so there's one question, which is, are we supposed to apply first for the program and then apply later for the scholarship separately? No. So if you apply through our portal, you directly get into these programs, and which means that you will get an admit for these programs, and the scholarship is then a guaranteed thing.
Yeah, I'll add that this is a very special partnership. I mean, we really go out of our way compared to other students in this partnership with LSEF that, first of all, we know there's many of you are great students. There's a vetting process where we know we're going to be seeing great students apply here. And the first stage is through the JKLU faculty, and we really have a lot of confidence in them. And they present the students to us, and then we conditionally admit, which we don't really do, except for our undergraduates program. So that's very unique that we're going to conditionally admit you to our graduate programs. And on top of that, we are offering a tuition and fees that is very close to what Massachusetts residents get. Most students who are from out of state have to pay double that amount. And so it's a very good value. If you're in the United States, certainly, it's a very good value, and we don't offer it to students outside the state. So those really 2 features I wanted to point out, this special partnership.
Thank you. Thanks, Ray. Those are very valuable points. There was just one more thing. So also for students who are in their final year right now, or who've done a 3-year undergraduate degree, so this 2-year program is very helpful for you because it helps you complete the 12+4 requirement to move to US. And yeah, obviously, as Ray mentioned, there are these financial benefits of being able to pay almost as close to the in-state tuition fee. Are there any questions that students have?
I see one, Harika, that was about particular information or questions in the statements of purpose.
Yes. Would you want to answer it?
Yes, so at least for us, a lot of what we're looking for is a real understanding of the program, and the fact that it's not just a computer science program, and also the sort of reason you would be very interested in pursuing this. So that'll be a big thing that we look for. Sort of, we do have a website that you can sort of check out, and sort of some background reading so that you sort of know what you're getting yourself into. It's important that we have a good fit between the people who are applying and the program itself and our philosophy.
That sounds about right for resource economics as well. We're really looking for students who are going to fit well within our program.
And so we have a question, I think, about what would be taught in the MPP program, the Masters in Public Policy program. And so the curriculum includes skills in policy analysis, policy design, policy implementation, management, statistics, economics, introduction to statistics, economics, and then we emphasize professional skills that you will need for success in public service, teamwork, presentation skills, and some other professional skills as well. And then we give you opportunities to explore substantive areas of policy that might be of interest to you. And that might be an interest in social policy or education policy or technology and government or environmental policy. So the idea is that you are getting the basic professional skills that you would need to work either in government or in civil society organizations that connect frequently with government, and also some substantive knowledge in the policy area that interests you. I think there's also a question about whether we have a minimum GPA for admission to our program. And that's not the way we think about it. We look at the whole record, academic and interests and work experience, and make a judgment on the whole record.
Great. Are there any other questions that the attendees have? So Ray, would you want to probably talk a little bit about, how's the student life like on campus? What are the kind of assistantships or maybe campus jobs, etc., that students can also probably financially aid them on campus while at UMass?
Yeah, well, student life we're a large campus. Graduate students typically find housing very proximate to campus. There's a good public bus system, very accessible. I would recommend students from the program perhaps living together in an apartment complex. They share the costs. And in terms of assistantships, well, first of all, these programs are really busy, so you're not going to have a lot of time. I mean, these are condensed programs. You're not going to have a lot of time to work outside of these programs. That said, there could be opportunities for some students who are interested to do research, and which you would get paid for that. I'm going to let the others add to any other opportunities they might have in their master's program. But I have to, there's summer opportunities. Obviously, the STEM, there's a potential for internships, which could lead to jobs, local area jobs. So, but I want to emphasize it's an intense, very intense year. So there's not going to be a lot of time for outside work.
I think that would be my position for resource economics, that fundamentally during the term, 4-course load is very heavy, and that would take up the student's time.
I think, and with regard to our program, the important thing to know is that most graduate programs in public policy and public administration in the United States are 2 academic years. That is 2 full academic years. So the fact that we are able to offer you a graduate degree in public policy, a highly regarded graduate degree in 1 academic year, is very important. It's one of the reasons why our program is so much more affordable than almost all of the competing programs. But the trade-off is that you will be working hard during that academic year. You will not. We make a point of designing the program so that you have lots of opportunities to connect with other students in the program. So you will be working as part of a cohort, a cadre. And there are lots of opportunities to socialize with other students. But there will not be a lot of time for work opportunities during the academic year.
I'd encourage students to know more about what it's actually like for students to join social media for UMass groups on Facebook, particularly for students who may come from where you live. So find out what they think about being at UMass, how they enjoy the programs, the campus life, their job prospects. So take advantage of that resource.
And in fact, just to follow on that point, our Twitter account for the School of Public Policy, I'm just looking it up right now, is at UMass Policy. And so if you follow us on Twitter, you'll get a very good sense of what goes on in the school on a day-to-day basis.
I would like to echo the idea of checking. There's a very active, I think Southeast Asian students group. I know at least at one time there was a cricket club because my kids played with them for a while. So I know that there's a lot going on around campus. It also, though, is the case that I think, as everyone has said, that these are intensive courses also for data analytics. I found that, again, with our undergraduates, that they're working extremely, when they try to work at a job, it gets a little bit tough because they're having to do a lot of labs and a lot of additional group projects and additional research. We do have limited opportunities for involvement in research, and you do have some eligibility for that. I would urge, one thing about reading the websites is that you might encounter things like teaching assistantships. People, I often get questions about that. Just to clarify, when you are on the DAX program, you won't actually be eligible to apply for those teaching assistantships because they would interfere far too much with the condensed course of study. And that's just not really a plausible thing. So sort of ignore that information. There might be limited opportunities to provide some, say, project advising or something if you're very good, if you have a long programming background and you do well in R, but that's going to be a more limited role. Oh, internship for academic credit. Yes. That I just saw a question. Yes, you can actually do an internship for academic credit. We are trying to, again, create those connections and have them in place by the time that you arrive on campus, so that we already have some pre-existing ones, but especially if you have existing connections to a firm, or if you go to one of these many career or alumni events that we'll be sponsoring and co-sponsoring starting with your orientation week, then a faculty member will be assigned to you as an advisor, and they will sort of meet with you on a regular basis and figure out ways, both sort of consult with you in whatever you're doing for the firm that you're working for, and sort of figure out a way to sort of integrate it with your other knowledge. Usually you get assigned an advisor, you've already taken a coursework, and we try to make connections between your coursework and whatever you're doing in your internship.
I want to say one thing about American universities. There's a culture of American universities. They take great pride in creating community, a large community where people feel welcome. This is especially true here at UMass. There's an international programs office that you should look at their website, where they help orient international students who are coming here. And as I said, this is a busy, large community of almost 30,000 students, 1,000 faculty. You're going to be entering into like I said, it's like a small city, and where people get to meet each other and do things together, and not just in academics. And you'll make a lot of friendships here and network very well, including with alumni. That's a very important part of American institutions, and especially so at the University of Massachusetts.
There's one question for public policy. So will the MA in public policy make a student eligible to become a professor in political science in both the countries?
No, you would have to do a PhD in political science probably, or possibly a PhD in public policy, but you would need a doctoral degree after your master's degree.
Right.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned about the UMass rankings. Well, there's a number of reasons for that, and my colleagues might be able to speak to that better. But certainly, we are attracting very high quality students in the past 10 years, and our faculty are publishing quite a bit. We're attracting grants. We're doing all the things that these rankings say you should be doing in terms of getting students into good jobs. So, you know, you know, there's certain metrics, some of them are more clear than others, that tell you whether a public university is doing what constituents want, and we're moving up in the rankings.
The School of Public Policy has moved up. The rankings that we look at are the U.S. News and World Report rankings. They have to be taken in our area with a grain of salt because they are purely reputational rankings, and they tend to favor long-established schools. But the point I would emphasize is that we have moved up 26 places in the U.S. News and World Report rankings in the last 2 years, and we expect to move up again. As I mentioned, we're adding 9 faculty over the next 30 months, which is a signal of the university's commitment to making this an outstanding school of public policy.
You should take a virtual tour of the campus. I mean, there's a lot of new buildings up too. You'll be taught in team-based learning environments with certainly with Professor Rolfe's courses. So infrastructure, quality of faculty, quality of students, resources for teaching, all those things play into the UMass rankings. Anything else, Kanika?
No, there are just some, if there's any other nice question.
I see a question about how students will be allocated for each semester at UMass, and I'm not 100% certain what the question behind that is, but all of our students come in as a cohort, and they would actually be taking courses with the other students that come in on this program, other students doing master's degrees, as well as some students doing PhD degrees. And so there is some choice over courses, but 3 courses in the first term are determined, and you'll have 1 choice course. And then I think it's probably 2 courses will be determined in the second term, and you'd have 2 choice courses. But that's how students are allocated from my perspective.
Just a word on that. These are pretty small programs. All of these are. Even public policy, after it grows, will not be sort of an overwhelmingly huge program. And some of you are familiar with some of the other U.S. programs, particularly more professional programs. You often end up sort of being one of, 200 people in a cohort who happens to get assigned to sort of randomly into a group. And I think it's important to note that these are all programs where you're probably coming in with at most 50 people in a year, and you're being taught by and large by permanent faculty, these faculty that have helped raise UMass up in the rankings. And again, that's a very rare, at least in my experience, that's pretty rare at the programs that I'm the most familiar with.
Meredith, there's one for you. How does a day look like for a DSESS program student?
Well, I can tell you last night I saw some of our current students and they were sitting there doing a Bayes problem set, all sitting around the table looking like their brains had gone to mush. So I think it's probably a pretty long day. I think that generally, actually, the idea of sitting around working in a group is actually one of the things that is a big part of the program. One of the things I loved about the group that I saw last night is it was actually a mixture of master's students with PhD students, which was really nice because sometimes you'll see doctoral students not necessarily mixing with the master's students. We haven't seen that be a problem in any of our courses because we've been getting master's students from sort of other places. It just hasn't been a coherent program so far. But what you will probably have is several courses where you will end up with some sort of a computer problem set or research project that you'll be working with your peers in small groups quite a bit of the day. And the other type of course you might have more reading or sort of theory and background that you're sort of working on the more substantive courses. Again, though, we tend to encourage a lot of teamwork and small group work, so that even when you're not in class, you'll be probably hopefully sitting around a coffee shop or some other nice place and doing work for the course.
Yeah. Okay, so we have like last 5-7 minutes of, and then we'll start wrapping up. So if there's any other important questions, etc., that students would like to ask, then please keep throwing them in. In the meantime, I'd just sort of remind you that our applications started 2 months ago. So we're already in the first round of admissions, and we've been screening applications for a while. And the first round will be closing on the 15th of January. So if you're interested, register for the scholarship, and we'll be in touch soon.
Could I briefly kind of address? I see 2 questions on scholarships and costs, and I think it's important to note that this program is definitely a big cost, I think, by international standards. By U.S. standards for programs of these quality, it's incredibly low cost. But that, again, assumes going out on the U.S. job market. Now, it's not a great thing to say, well, you're going to probably end up having to take a loan and then, make it back in your first year on the job. But the reality is that it's going to be very difficult to make up both living costs and tuition costs in on-campus jobs. And so I wouldn't recommend that anyone plans that. I'm afraid you would be very unhappy in the program if you try to think that you could pay all of the costs just from working on campus. So I just wanted to sort of make that one note. But again, bearing in mind that this is already just a remarkably low cost program sort of from the get-go, because we've been dedicated to doing these one-year programs for degrees, particularly with public policy, but also even with computational social science, it's often a 2-year program. And because you're getting in-state tuition, which is very rare for international students.
The tuition at public policy programs at private universities in the United States is about $50,000 a year for 2 years. So the advantage here is that aside from the scholarship, you're also coming to a public university. So in the American market, this is a highly price competitive option.
Okay. I don't think there are any more questions coming in, any new questions. So is there anything else that any of you would want to add?
Just to reemphasize that our Twitter address is @UMass Policy, and please do follow us, and you can learn all about what we're doing.
You can email us if you have other specific questions about the program. We want to make sure you know what you're coming for. We're very proud of this program, or all these programs, and once you're part of our student body, we really are committed to making your education a priority and helping you find work afterwards. So if you look, for instance, at Resource Economics, they have a webpage. You'll see that they've placed their students very well. You can do the same for the policy program. Data analytics is new, but I'm very confident that our students are going to be getting some fantastic jobs. So many of them already have, but so let us know if you have further questions. You can find our names on the website at UMass.
Yes. So, and if there's anything else that's related to the scholarship, you can email us at admissionsoffice@lse.foundation. I'm just going to leave this email ID on the chat. So, we generally reply within 2 to 3 days. So just bear with us. So I think I just thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the panelists and the attendees for taking out the time for the webinar. I just want to reiterate that candidates who want to proceed further can find all of the scholarship information and registration link on our website, which is www.lse.foundation. And as I mentioned, the first round of admissions will be closing on the 15th of January. For those who have recently registered, we'll be in touch with you over the next week and send in our queries. You can reach out to the professors directly or to our admissions office. And we've It's been great having you all.
Thank you for setting this up, Kanika. We enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.